we pray. Kneeling low, hear what we say. Freedom calls in every tone. Faith is built on hearts of stone. Vibes so raw, can't hide the truth. Words so sharp, they cut right through. Real talk for the soul's appeal. Prayers rise up the wounds they heal. Lift our voices to the sky. A righteous perspective high. On this path we won't back down. For the Father wears the crown. Each step brings another fight. Breaking chains, we're seeking light. Voice of power won't be tamed. With His love, we're never ashamed. Lift our voices to the sky. A righteous perspective high. On this path we won't back down. For the Father wears the crown. From the ashes we shall rise. Hope is found deep in our eyes. Every word a battle cry. With the Father none deny.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. It's your man, Wise, man. Welcome to ARP in the morning. I'm your host, Wise, and I appreciate you all tuning in to this broadcast on this fine Monday morning. I appreciate you guys tuning in. God bless each and every one of you all. I hope you had a great weekend. I had a pretty good one. Yesterday was pretty chill. Saturday went and got a chance to get out, play a little bit of golf, which was fun. Didn't play my best round, but it's always good to be able to get out and play a little bit of golf, man. I will take a bad round of golf over a work day any day. Just keeping it real, But I appreciate you all pulling up, man. If you haven't done so already, please make sure you hit that like button for me. We got a great show. We got a lot to get into this morning. Pretty eventful weekend, a lot of protests and things of that nature. So we're going to talk about that today. Shout out to Tyrone Rowe, first person in the daggone chat this morning, 8:34 a.m. South Carolina present and accounted for. Shout out to you, brother. Appreciate you pulling up. Shout out to True Texan. Appreciate you pulling up this morning. Redefine Queen, good morning to you. Appreciate you pulling up as well. Big Job Ford, what's going on with you, brother? Hope all is well. What up, West Virginia Wire? What up, Regina? How you doing this morning, sister? Appreciate you pulling up. Helping to keep things moving and civil in the chat. Thank you very much. What's going on, Marta? How you doing this morning? Michigan in the building. PK Krilling, what up with you, brother? Appreciate you pulling up. Savannah, Tennessee in the house. What up, Scott Young? Appreciate you pulling up. Margaret Schultz in the building. Appreciate you pulling up as well. What's going on, Lori? How you doing this morning? Appreciate you pulling up. What up, Christy? How you doing this morning? Christy says she failed again. I'll be in here first one of these days. Hey, you got to get here early, man. You got to get here early, and you got to pull up early. These folks are here in the chat at daggone 8:30 in the morning. But thank you for pulling up, Christy. Chi-Town in the house. Appreciate you. Thank you. What up, Larry Montgomery? How you doing this morning, brother? Nevada City in the building. Appreciate you. What's up, Buddha? How you doing? West Sand Lake, New York in the house. Appreciate you pulling up this morning. Now, Lori, please tell me, these are all of your dogs? So I got to put this on the screen here. 6 Dachshunds, 2 Schnauzers, and 1 ditch dog. Come on now. You got 8 dogs at your house? Lord, have mercy. I got 1 and he's spoiled rotten. I don't know if I can handle. I've thought about getting another one, but my wife is like, we don't need to get another one. But I feel like he needs a friend. We'll see. I might be able to win that battle in the near future. What's up, Edmar? How you doing this morning, brother? Mississippi in the building. Appreciate you pulling up. Appreciate you. 619. Is it Cookeville, Tennessee in the house? Appreciate you pulling up. Thank you very much. What up, Donald Lovejoy? Appreciate you pulling up. Colorado in the building. What up, Brian M? Appreciate you pulling up this morning. Hobo Rob Perspecting. Appreciate you pulling up this morning. Thank you very much. What up, Thea Flies High? Roscoe, New York in the house. Appreciate you pulling up this morning. What up, B? How you doing this morning, sister? Appreciate you pulling up as always. Keeping things civil in the chat. What up, Billy Dub? H-Town in the building. Look at that. Hey, I know them folks down there in Houston going off right now. No one put any money on you guys, I'm for certain. Everybody thought that Duke was going to just run the table. Everybody thought that Duke was going to run the table. And, man, you guys showed up, man. You guys showed up. What's up, Shelby? How you doing this morning? Lynn, Alabama. And yes, God is great. Thank you. Thank you for pulling up this morning. What's up, Joseph? How you doing this morning, brother? Appreciate you pulling up. All right, we got R. Rendell's, North Carolina in the house. We're at in North Cat. What up, Lindy? How you doing? Timothy Rickner. Appreciate you pulling up this morning. Tucson, Arizona. Francis Finnerty. Appreciate you pulling up this morning. Thank you very much. We got Denzel out of Wisconsin. Appreciate you pulling up this morning. What up, Betty out of Tampa, Florida? Appreciate you pulling up this morning. We got Asar out of Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Appreciate you pulling up this morning. Thank you very much. What up, fam? Laurie K out of Bon Aqua, Tennessee. All right. Ace Brigade out of Cincinnati. Appreciate you pulling up this morning, brother. What up, Keith French? ATL in the building. Appreciate you pulling up this morning. What's up, Denise Harvey's? GA in the house, Georgia. Appreciate you. Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate that. Appreciate you, Keith. You know, I try to change it up. You know, every now and again, you know, you rep these daggone these sports franchises that we spend money on that don't really care about us. You had to change it up a little bit. What's up, Barb Blake? How you doing this morning? Oh, Denzel, did I not show you some love? I'm for certain. I said, what's up, Denzel out of Wisconsin? What up with you? Appreciate you pulling up this morning. What up, Baby Lungs? How you doing this morning? Burnsville, Minnesota. Ace Brigade. Oh, you said you're a Roddy. I knew it, bro. I'm a Roddy guy. No, not a Roddy. I got a Pity. I got a blue pit bull. He's made an appearance on the live stream at least once. One day, he was acting real needy, so he pulled up for a little bit. Debbie has 9 cats. Good Lord. All right, we got Missouri in the house. What's up, Nelly? How you doing this morning? Liv Slayer, West Virginia in the building. Appreciate you pulling up this morning. Want to make sure I didn't miss anybody. What's up, Mary Ann? How you doing? Fresno, California. Yes, Denzel. Yes, he is. What up, Brando? How you doing this morning? Appreciate you pulling up. What up, EDH? How you doing this morning? Appreciate you pulling up. Oh, Elizabeth City. Okay, not too far outside of Norfolk. Okay. I've driven through there. I've never really actually been to Elizabeth City, but I've driven through Elizabeth City. I actually, when I was in the Navy, I was stationed in Norfolk. So going home and driving home to Georgia, you had to ride through there, typically. So yeah, appreciate that, man. Awesome. What up, Beth S? How you doing this morning? Appreciate you pulling up. Yvette Holland, appreciate you pulling up this morning. What up, Tyrone Rowe? Appreciate you pulling up this morning. You got the first. The first chat this morning. Appreciate you pulling up. Degenerate XR Arkansas. Appreciate you pulling up this morning. What up, Kenny Cooper? Listening from Waco, Texas, man. Hey, be safe out there on the road, man. Be safe. What up, Eric Smith? I ain't forget you. What's going on, Eric? How you doing this morning, brother? It's a process getting through these things. What up, Cat Loves Labs? Appreciate you pulling up this morning. Mandy Ratliff, appreciate you pulling up this morning. Got Fort Worth in the building. All right. What up, JB? Say something about Memphis. All right. Appreciate you pulling up this morning. Lori says she has a horse as well. Okay. Okay. You got all the animals. All right. That's what's up. We got Margaret out of Des Moines. Appreciate you pulling up this morning. What's up, Seabergy? How you doing this morning? You got a staffy? Yeah. The staffies are nice. What up, Renee Suzanne? How you doing this morning? Appreciate you pulling up. Scott 8T8, Milwaukee in the building. Appreciate you pulling up this morning. What up, May Ramos? How you doing this morning? Corpus Christi in the building. What up, RJ Hudson? South Cac in the building. All right. Wayne Nobre, Fredericksburg, Virginia in the building. Appreciate you pulling up. Oh, yeah, we're going to get into it, man. We're going to get the show started. If you haven't done so already, make sure you hit that like button for me. What's up, LeClaire? I'm sorry, E. Whitlock. Appreciate you pulling up. Rolando Velez, appreciate you pulling up this morning. Make sure I didn't miss anybody. I think we're good. But we got 160 people in the building this morning, man. Please make sure you guys hit the daggone like button for me if you haven't done so already. Face of Bo out of Missouri. Keith Calio out of California. Appreciate you pulling up. The Black Staffies. All right. What up, Madeline? How you doing this morning, sister? Appreciate you pulling up this morning. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Beth S says, let me see what she says here. I want to pull this up. Where are you at? Someday, can you do a show on Black on Black? Lost my brother and uncle. That's something I can look into. I mean, I know a lot of people, they have talked about it. I know up here, where I live at, I live just outside Baltimore City, and there is a lot that goes on. I know some of the most high crime rates, out there are in cities very similar to Baltimore, Chicago and New York and Memphis and St. Louis, you name it, typically liberal and Democrat led, but I'll look into that. Shout out to Big Job Ford for the $4.99 super chat. He says, good MAGA morning, everyone. Appreciate you, man. Thank you very much for supporting the channel with the super chat. Thank you very much. Oh, yeah. But, like I say, make sure you guys hit that like button for me if you haven't done so already. That is the best way to support the channel. Hit the like button, share the stream. If you would like to go the extra mile, obviously joining the ARP family. That's a really good way to support the channel. Or you can buy your man a coffee. That link's in the description box below. That's another way to support the channel. Super chats will stop the show. Those will get read. Super thanks, super stickers, more or less, will stop the show. Those will be acknowledged as well. Anybody that joins the ARP family or anybody that gifts an ARP family membership, those will stop the show and they will be acknowledged as well. Like I said, I hope you all had a great weekend. We're going to kick things off, with this story it's been all over the news all weekend. So we're going to get things kicked off. I hope you guys have hit that like button for me if you haven't done so. And, let's get it popping.
My name is Gracia Martinez Rosas. I am an immigrant. I am undocumented, unafraid, queer, and unashamed. My name is Gracia Martinez Rosas. I am an immigrant. I am undocumented, unafraid, queer, and unashamed.
Look at Boston, Massachusetts now as we check back in on one of our top stories, anti-Trump protests taking place across the country today after a tumultuous week, to say the least, on Wall Street and the economy. We want to point out, just a few minutes ago, we did show you a protest. We said it was Boston. It was not Boston. It was an unrelated protest. But what you are looking at right now is Boston, and I'm from there. I can recognize this. This is the plaza right outside of City Hall in downtown.
Alrighty, so the hands-off protest that basically have swept across the United States and Europe over the weekend, which looked more like a confused mix of venting, virtue signaling, and identity politics rage. You know, at first glance, you might say, you know, hey, fine, people, they have the chance, they have the right to protest. This is America. You have the right to protest. This is America. But I want to know if somebody can answer this question for me in the chat. What are they hoping to accomplish with this protest? What's their goal? What was the agenda? I'm guessing it was, you know, to oppose, you know, the so-called Trump must takeover, you know, and honestly, man, I wish I was joking, but I mean, you literally have people out there, you know, with these signs, some of them saying, you know, things like socialism beats fascism. Let that sink in for a second. Socialism beats fascism. Seriously, let that sink in for a second. I mean, these people, excuse me, are or were literally marching under a banner that glorifies socialism as the antidote to tyranny. Seriously, socialism as the antidote to tyranny, without the faintest understanding that socialism itself becomes tyranny every time it's been tried. Now, I know some of you, you know, educated or highly indoctrinated people in the chat are going to say, you know, socialism, you know, it will work. It's just never been implemented properly. That seems like that's the argument right there. It will work. It's never been implemented properly. Does Venezuela ring a bell? Cuba? The USSR? There are some people that are on these college campuses. Maybe they've graduated recently, you know, with one of these daggone, you know, super woke degrees like political science or something along those lines, that will tell you that socialism is a good thing. It's just never been implemented properly. But every time it's been implemented, tyranny followed. Every time. There is not one real example to where it has been implemented and it's turned into this great utopian society that these people think it should turn into. But nuance is lost when the crowd's just looking for someone to chant with. And then you got the speeches. I showed it earlier. We're going to play it back again because you guys got to see it. There is this lady, you guys got a chance to see it, openly documented, declaring on the mic that she is undocumented, unafraid, and unashamed. These people, this is a sickness. This is a sickness. These people are out here, quote unquote, unashamed, undocumented, and whatever her pronouns or whatever that is.
My name is Gracia Martinez Rosas. I am an immigrant. I am undocumented, unafraid, queer, and unashamed.
I'm kind of at a loss for words, to be honest with you. I really am. Because when you see this, I mean, she says this on live TV. She says this on live TV. Hey, Tom Homan, go find this lady. Yeah, she did say queer. I don't even understand what that means. I don't understand what it means to be queer. I don't. I don't. I've lost track. Once they got past the T or the L, B, G, maybe the T. Once they got past that, I just gave up. I was just like, it ain't got nothing to do with me. It ain't got nothing to do with me. I don't understand what any of that stuff means. It doesn't make sense to me. This lady said this on live TV. You can't make this stuff up, man. So you could say that maybe, just maybe, I mean, these people are not the brightest stars in the sky. This isn't the brightest bunch of people. And the crazy thing is that clip, it went viral. It went viral. How long will it take before ICE gets a hold of her behind? And she is boo-hoo, whining and crying. How long? And if all that wasn't enough, we had the classic return, to no Trump, no KKK, no fascist USA. That came back. They brought that reared its ugly head once again. Because of course, if you disagree with their politics, if you disagree with their movement, you must be some racist Nazi. You gotta be. If you disagree with these people. Let's keep it a buck, man. Let's keep it real. These demonstrations, they're not going to change hearts. They're just not. They're not building coalitions. What they're doing is they're alienating voters who are tired of hysteria and desperate for results. And if anything, it shows you just how out of touch the left-wing activist machine has become. Some of the protesters, they don't even know what they're protesting. Some of these protesters, they don't know what they are protesting. It's crazy. You have people out there holding up signs and they don't even know why. I don't even know if they made the sign. I don't know if they made the sign. But they're out there protesting and don't know why. It's a daggone shame, man. It really is.
And what brings you out here today?
What doesn't?
Can you explain a little bit for our viewers what this means?
Go ahead.
Raise your hand out.
Kakistocracy. Government by the least suitable or competent citizens of a state. Seems to fit, doesn't it?
That sounds like that was the first time. That was the first time that he had ever read that. They're holding up a sign, don't know what it means. This dude had to pull out a piece of paper. You can't make this stuff up, man. You can't make it up. This is ridiculous. Let me play that one more time for you guys, just so y'all can see it.
And what brings you out here today?
What doesn't?
Can you explain a little bit for our viewers what this means?
Go ahead.
Raise your hand out.
Kakistocracy. Government by the least suitable or competent citizens of a state. Seems to fit, doesn't it?
And
Hey, that was the first time that he had read that piece of paper. This is unfortunate because the Biden-Harris economy was so bad that it's driven people like these folks out here to protest, and they don't even know why. I'm assuming that they've probably made a couple $100 to be out here. You notice when the lady with the microphone goes and asks, Hey, what are y'all out here? The lady points to him and says, "You got the paper, you tell him." You tell him, you tell him why we're out here. You tell him what this cockistocracy means or whatever that is. You tell him. Oh my God. If I have any people in the chat from Ohio, y'all got to take this L. Y'all got to take this L right here. This is ridiculous. If you're out here holding a sign up, you should be able to explain what you're holding a sign for without pulling the paper out and reading it. And I promise you, somebody in the chat, actually, put a 1 in the chat for me if y'all believe that this was the first time that he had actually read that piece of paper when he unfolded it and read it right there on that for that interview. Put a 1 in the chat for me. That looked like that was the first time that he has read that piece of paper. He had no idea. This is crazy. And he even read it with a question like, I don't really understand what this means. Oh my goodness, man. This is ridiculous. I mean, seriously, maybe, next time, Soros and company, maybe they should use smaller words, so that they're paid, protesters actually understand what the signs are saying. Seriously. Maybe they should put them through some form of online training before they go out there and protest so they understand, hey, this is the sign that you're going to hold up. And you need to know what this means, just in case somebody asks you. I mean, this is ridiculous. But it just goes to show you, that there's no real conviction there with these people. And this was all across the country and all over the weekend. It was all over the news. Thousands in the street protesting Trump. Thousands. Sounds like there's, a real, tangible, a backlash or something along those lines. But no, it just looks like, a lot of these folks, are just completely unaware of, what they're actually protesting. And it looks more like they were just told to be there, more or less paid to be there. That's what it looks like. This doesn't look like it's coming from a real place. There was no moral conviction, in that statement that he read. None. Zero. But it gets worse. It gets worse.
Past the Dunkin' Donuts, which is the most vague possible location I could possibly give you in Massachusetts. But besides being near a Dunkin' Donuts, which places me somewhere in Massachusetts, I mentioned I'm at the Hands Off Boston March, and it is the slowest march I have ever been in, and I could not be more happy about that, because that means that the streets between the park and City Hall are entirely filled with people who are here because they're very angry about what's going on, about Trump and fascism trying to take this wonderful country with all these wonderful people, and there are great chants going on. Immigrants welcome here, trans people are welcome here, trans kids are welcome here. This is fucking Massachusetts, kid. Get your fucking hands off of it. All right, I'll say hi some more later, if I can manage to post this. Bye!
I'm sorry. Oh, man. Yo, they got a look. Why do they all have this look? They all have the same look. Oh my goodness. Yo, why do they always have to come off as, just these super fake and performative individuals? Why? Why? They all have this same, like look like they're all possessed by the same type of demon or something. It's really interesting and ironic how the people protesting and shouting hands off are telling it to people that are trying to keep the government's hands off your money, away from your life. They're protesting the guys that are trying to save your money from being stolen. You can't make this stuff up, man. You cannot make this stuff up. There is an individual in office that says, hey, man, we want to cut the waste. We want to cut the fraud. We want to cut the abuse. They've already come out and told us, you know, just based off of the departments that they've touched, the amount of fraud, the amount of waste that is happening. And these people are protesting and saying hands off to the people that are fighting to save the country from becoming bankrupt. You can't make this stuff up, man. You just can't. And I'm not saying that it's all, but this seems to be, you know, a paid actor type situation. That's what it seems to be. They've done it before. So, I mean, I don't put it past them at all to do it again. I just don't. One protester in New York went live asking, you know, where all the young people protesting. One person in New York went live asking where all the young people protesting at. She was actually confused and she couldn't understand why there were no young people out there. She couldn't understand it. She's like, where's the young people at? She couldn't understand it.
Right now in New York City, anti-Trump, anti-fascist protests, and I have one question. Where the fuck is Gen Z? These people are cheering, they're talking like it's just the 60s, it's just like the 60s, and they're having conversations and walking slowly. There's no fight here. There's no youth here. It's all 30-somethings and their children. And then seniors, and God bless everybody who showed up today, but I'm really fucking disappointed in the youth turnout. Where is the youth turnout? This is your future that is going to be impacted by the actions of the Trump administration. And it's really this easy to show up in numbers and show your government that they're outnumbered. That is the point of a protest, to show that your government, that they are outnumbered. And if Trump leads you to believe that protesting does nothing, then this is what we get. We get a crowd of 30-somethings and their children and seniors and barely any teenagers ever. Like, these, oh my God, I can't even. Like, where are you going if you're not going to the protest right now? What's more important?
You know what's crazy? How many people do you think actually know what fascism is? Seriously, how many people do you think actually know what fascism is? How many people do you know that actually know what fascism is? I was talking to a friend of mine the other day. You know, we were in the gym and we were talking about these reciprocal tariffs. And I was like, people are up in arms because they don't know what reciprocal means. And he was like, no way, no way. People know what reciprocal means. And I'm like, dude, they don't know what reciprocal means. So he goes to work that day and they brought it up. So he goes around, he starts asking people, do y'all even know what reciprocal means? Now, these are college educated people. These are people that they all have degrees where he works at. I'm not going to put his business out where he works at. But where he works at, this is a professional environment. You have to have a degree to work in here, more times than not. They didn't know. They had no idea what reciprocal means. They just was like, oh, it means to increase. It's like, oh my gosh. But I told them, I was like, these people do not know what the word means. No different than they don't know what fascism means. And just to break it down, you know, fascism, it's a far right authoritarian political ideology. Last time I checked, we live in a constitutional republic. Last time I checked, we live in a constitutional republic. When you start talking about fascism, it's typically ran under a dictator, one individual rule. That's almost impossible to do in this country due to the fact of the checks and balances and the way our system is set up. It's almost impossible to do. It's almost impossible. Now, they may look at it because they see, oh, nationalism, extreme pride in one's country. Now, I do think that we should have a sense of pride in our nation. We should. That is something that we had in the past. We've kind of gotten away from it. We should have pride in our nation. The other thing, though, is that, they say it's a suppression of the opposition. The last time I checked in this country, the left, legacy media, they pretty much have a monopoly on information that comes out through your typical legacy broadcasting platforms. They pretty much have a monopoly on that side of things. You want to find more right-leaning content, more conservative-leaning content, you're going to have to go the independent route. You're going to have to come to channels like this one and others, on YouTube and X. You got Fox, but I don't know if you can really count Fox News as a full-fledged conservative site or platform, although it's more conservative than the others. They're talking control of a society, economy, media, personal freedoms. Last time I checked, President Trump is 100% for free speech. So is Elon Musk. He's taken a platform that was super far left and made it even for free speech. They want people to maintain their personal freedoms, the ability of free speech, the right to bear arms, so forth and so on. Everything that's within that Bill of Rights. Last time I checked, they don't have any intent on getting rid of the Bill of Rights. Now, we do hear people from the left talking about the Constitution is old and outdated. We have heard that, to include former President Barack Obama, that said that the Constitution was old and outdated. And then the glorification, of a state, or a leader, individual rights being asked to take a back seat for the good of the nation. That's something that's not happening either. But again, it goes back to my original statement as to, do these people really know what fascism is? Yeah, Newsmax is conservative, but they're still growing. They're still a growing platform, but they are, a fairly conservative platform. You're right. But when you look at it in the grand scheme of things, you look at legacy media, the major networks, you look at that and you would say 90% of it is left-leaning. And I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. So these people, they get these words and they just run with it. And they don't really know what the heck they're talking about. They don't. It's crazy. And it's funny because this young lady here, it's really funny because wait until she finds out that oligarchs are paying for these protesters. You wait. Wait until she finds out that the quote unquote oligarchy is paying for the protesters. And then she turned around and asked, where's the youth? Well, the youth suffered so much under Biden. I don't blame them for not being out there. This 29% inflation rate, it did damage to young people. It's put a lot of them in positions where they felt like we don't have an opportunity to buy or own a home. We've been in a recession since 2021, so people were graduating college with no real opportunities out there. There's been multiple people talking about, hey, I graduated college and I'm still bartending. I'm still working as a server, waitress. I'm still working the job that I was in, before, and I thought, graduating was going to put me in a position where I could really make some money. And that's not the case. So I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that you don't see a lot of young people out there. I just don't. Gen Z, they're done with the game. And at one point, one of the organizers even said, their protests weren't just aimed at Trump or Musk. They're also targeting Democrats like Chuck Schumer as well. Because they say that he surrenders too much. They don't like Chuck Schumer either. They say he surrenders too much to the GOP. Which basically means, in other words, the left is so radical that even Schumer is too moderate for them. They want more Cory Bookers and AOCs and less Schumers. Good luck with that. That is a losing proposition. That's a losing argument. And while the streets, yes, they were filled with chants and protest signs, guess what just dropped, though? A new bombshell poll from the Daily Mail. And I want to share this with you guys. There was a new poll from the Daily Mail. The other thing, too, that I want to talk about, too, while I pull this up, and I'm going to get to it here in a second, to this article here, but a lot of young men, Gen Z and younger, a lot of them have been moved to the conservative side of things. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that if you are a straight heterosexual young man in high school or in college, you're being told that you are the enemy. Your masculinity is toxic to them. You're being told that they don't want you in their spaces as you are. So if you're a young man and you have these professors and you have these high school teachers telling them that the way that you are, the way God made you, isn't for them, it makes complete sense that they're not going to support the left. It makes complete sense. You got a lot of young dudes that are just saying, you know what, this college thing ain't for me. They might go for a semester and then they quit. Because college campuses right now, a lot of them, I'm not going to say all, but a large amount of them, if you are a heterosexual male, especially if you're someone that is God-fearing, that is not a safe campus for you. It is not a safe space for you. It just isn't. But in this article right here, anybody, if you want the article so you can read it in its totality itself, shoot me an email. I'll send you the link. My email is in the description box. But in this article right here, I don't want to scroll this down real fast. I think we're right up in there. But, in this article, the poll found that Trump's approval rating rose to 53%, a 4-point increase over last week when it was 49%. It also showed that Trump's approval is up 13 points since March 7th among those aged 18 to 29. And his favorability among Democrats and independents, it's up 6 points as well. And, when it comes to these tariffs, and this one, to be honest with you, it kind of shocked me as well. But when it comes to his universal 10% tariff on all goods coming from other countries, more Americans support it than are against it. 1 in 3 respondents, or 36%, support Trump's 10% minimum tariff, and that's what the poll stated. And I would assume that those numbers are higher if you actually polled everybody. Only 28% are opposed to the policy, while the remaining 36% were unsure. And a lot of that 36% is that they just don't know. I've had conversations with family members and other people, and once I'm able to break it down, because what legacy media won't do is they won't actually tell people exactly what's happening. They're going to give you their spin on it, and that's it. Once I was actually able to say, hey, man, Everybody is making money off of us. No one gives us an opportunity to make money in their nation. They tax all of our goods into oblivion and make it so expensive that nobody purchases American-made products. They don't buy American-made cars. And I've been to a multitude of countries in my lifetime. You would be hard-pressed to find an American vehicle almost anywhere in Europe. You would be hard-pressed to do it. You just would. Respondents also supported, by a slim margin, I gotta say, but they also supported the increasing tariffs on all goods coming from foreign countries. Those of y'all, that's in the chat, man, if you served in the military, if you've had a chance to, go on some deployments, if you were in the Navy, or if you've, gone and lived in Germany or some of these other places, or even in Korea, because I know a lot of Army guys go to Korea, you could probably count on one hand how many times you've seen an American-made vehicle. Seriously, off post. You could probably count on one hand. You just don't. You don't see American-made vehicles being driven in a lot of these other nations. You just don't. I'm going to Saudi Arabia, and they drive Mercedes as taxis. The Mercedes-Benz are taxis down there. And I understand why they don't want to take some of our food products because of all the junk that gets put in our food. And a lot of that stuff has been outlawed in Europe. Now think about that. RFK talked about this last year. Like, hey, the same box of Fruit Loops here in this country is different than when they send it over to Europe. Because, can y'all not hear me? Oh yeah, D. Oh yeah. In Saudi Arabia, the taxis are Mercedes. And to be honest with you, I believe it was like that in Italy. I know for sure Saudi Arabia, and I almost believe Italy as well. Yeah, Mercedes-Benz taxis. Absolutely. Here you are. You think you're doing something if you're riding the S500. It's a taxi. It's a taxi. Seriously. Anybody, and anybody that's in the chat that's been in the military, they can count. And I'm sure in Germany, they're taxis. So the crazy thing is that you think you're doing something pushing that Mercedes when they just regular vehicles over there. They regular vehicles. A lot of people didn't know that. But the thing is that if you've never left the nation, that's why you have so many people here in this nation that they talk so bad, about this country. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that they ain't never been nowhere else. So they don't really know how good they actually have it because they hadn't been nowhere. The average American has never left the country. Let me take that back. The average American has rarely even left their state, more or less left the country. The average American still lives within about a 10-mile radius of where they grew up at. So most people that talk trash about the nation, they talk trash about it and they think that there's this quote unquote utopian society out there that's better because they hadn't been anywhere. So when you got people that hadn't left a 10-mile radius of where they grew up at, seriously, a 10-mile radius of where they grew up at. And they talking about, oh man, this country's trash, this, that, and the third. Y'all ain't been nowhere. Y'all don't even know that the next state down from you might be better. I mean, it's crazy. It's really sad, man. But this tariff situation, man, obviously, it's been a major, Democrat talking point. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that a lot of people just don't know. A lot of people are just ignorant. And I don't say the term ignorant to denigrate. I don't say that to denigrate. I'm just saying that they just don't know. They really do not know. I've gone to places in Europe where it truly is have and have nots. And you would see poor people, living in shacks with dirt floors. I've seen it with my own eyes. And this is Europe. This is supposed to be, quote unquote, Western society. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen little kids out selling trinkets, little small trinkets or whatever to get some money. I've got a chance to see it with my own eyes. Shout out to Jeff from It's Not Your Fault for the $11 super chat. He says, Navy vet, like you, been to 26 different countries. We live in the greatest country on the face of the planet, full stop. God bless the USA. You're absolutely right, Jeff. I don't think I've been to 26 nations. Maybe half of that. Maybe slightly over half of that. But you're absolutely right. And the crazy thing is that most Americans that leave the nation and they're still needing to work and make some money, they still make money right here in this country. So they'll leave because it might be cheaper somewhere else, but they still make money right here in this nation. When you got places like the Dominican Republic that the average wage over there is less than $400 a month. Different African nations, the same thing, average wage, less than $500 a month. Folks aren't just leaving, same thing, out in the Philippines and some of these other countries out Southeast Asia. Folks aren't just leaving and getting money in these other countries. No, they're leaving because it's cheaper, but they're still making money here because they know, man, even if I only make $30,000 a year in America, I can go borderline live like a big baller in some other nation out there. That's the truth. So this whole tariff situation, it's a major Democrat talking point, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that people just don't know. Most of the people had never even heard of a tariff. They weren't even familiar with the term. So now they start talking about these tariffs, people don't even know. And the crazy thing is that when the Democrats will tell you, hey, we got to increase our revenue. There's only two ways in this country. I've been talking about it, but there's only two ways in this country that we're going to raise revenue or that we gain revenue in this nation. It's either through tariffs, meaning tax the other countries that want to do business in our nation, or we're going to tax you, the American citizen. Democrats prefer to raise your taxes more and allow people to sell goods in our country for next to nothing. That's their preference. The sad part about it is you got a lot of people that are like, yeah, raise my taxes and don't charge them. It doesn't even make sense. It doesn't even make sense. Now, what President Trump is doing, it's an attempt to right a wrong that should have been righted a long time ago. Now, hopefully, the ultimate goal is just free trade across the board. We can sell in everybody, and we don't have to put taxes and things of that nature. Free trade, ultimate competition, the best products win. But until that happens, something's got to shake. Something's got to shake. So this tariff situation, yeah, it's a major Democrat talking point, but it's not only Democrats who are against these tariffs. You got some Republicans that are against it as well. It's not just the Democrat Party. You do have some Republicans that are against it as well. You do. And we're going to get into it.
I invite you to come.
I will go. Let's go. We'll go together. I'll come with you. You come to eloquent.
The town halls that we have been doing, where we are seeing Republicans and Democrats alike. I went to a county that Trump won by 20 points. Hundreds of people showing up and saying, I'm a Republican. I voted for Trump, and this is not what I voted for.
Let me just, one thing that's interesting.
Well, I mean, the numbers paint a different story. They do. The numbers paint a different story. Which, this brings me to Minnesota. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, who is the embodiment of everything wrong with the modern Democrat Party. Weak leadership, weak man, a bunch of virtue signaling, and a complete disconnect from the average American that is struggling to pay bills, feed their kids, fill up their tank. This dude went on CNN over the weekend to talk about the tariffs and a whole lot more. Biden's mental decline, the state of the Democrat Party. I mean, we're going to break it all down. I mean, the gaslighting, the excuses, the delusion on 1,000. On 1,000. And why? Because if Democrats listen to people like Walz, they'll be circling the political drain for years to come. So first, Jake Tapper asked Walz, he asked Walz about how Democrats gaslighted us, about the state of our country, about Biden's mental acuity. And this is what Walz had to say. You guys got to see it. This is what he had to say. Check this out, man. This is crazy.
To the criticism that one of the reasons why your party was so resoundingly rejected last November is because Democrats were gaslighting the country, saying that inflation was not a big deal, heralding Bidenomics. Not only Biden, but Kamala Harris was heralding Bidenomics, pretending that there wasn't a problem at the border. And then fundamentally, this idea that President Biden was up for another 4 years of the job, while Americans in poll after poll for year after year were saying he's too old to do the job. Your party stood against all of those things.
Look, Joe Biden coming in and doing COVID and being a governor through COVID did a hell of a job. But I think one of the things that we didn't do is we assumed that we said, and it was true, that we were going to have a soft landing and our economy was better than the rest of the world. Better for who? Better for the working class who was saying groceries were too expensive, as they are now and going up. They got to see us talk about things. Again, I go back to this. Don't talk about food insecurity or housing type of issues. Talk about people being hungry and wondering where they're going to live, or about their children's future, about real security. And so I think your question is spot on. I think we got intellectualized on this. I think the fact of the matter is Joe Biden did soft land the economy. He did usher us through COVID. None of us are saying we should be soft on the border, but we allow a vacuum, and Donald Trump fills it, the 800-pound gorilla, and their narrative starts to stick, and we look weak. We look weak like we don't care. We look like look, Jake, I'm not going to say, we need to do is we need to just arrest people and ship them to El Salvador. No, we need to invest the money on border. We need to make sure that we have the judges necessary to adjudicate things faster. We need to make sure if you're going to be in this country here legally, and when you are, you're going to be uplifted, celebrated, and part of this great American tapestry. We didn't do that, and then it fills them. They'll find the example that is horrific where you have someone who's not here legally and they commit a crime. That is horrific, but we don't do a good job of telling that.
Don't you think your party needs to acknowledge that President Biden was not up for the job of running for re-election and that this was a major mistake by the
He made that decision.
I know, but you all went along with the idea that he was up for it, and he wasn't. And everybody saw it, and the country rejected it.
Yeah, well, look, history will tell us to go back on that. That very well could be the case, Jake.
So, Walz. Oh, man. So, Walz was asked to defend the Democrat agenda and to explain why they got absolutely smoked in the last election. And instead of taking a moment to reflect, to admit mistakes, he did what leftist politicians always do. Just double down on the very ideas that voters just rejected. And at one point, he even said that Democrats should be louder and prouder about being woke. Let me translate that for you. We didn't lose because our ideas suck. We lost because we didn't scream our whack, garbage, terrible ideas loud enough. I also find it funny how now that Tapper, has a new book to sell, it's only now that he's asking these guys these questions about Biden. Where was this type of hardcore journalism 4 years ago? Where were these questions 4 years ago? When half the country could see what was right in front of our very eyes. We could see it. Seriously, where was this hardcore, hard-hitting journalism back then? Waltz claimed that, Democrats really care about the border security. Really? Really? They care about border security when they let 21 million people come across this country? Cartels running all types of things, from weapons to fentanyl, drugs, human trafficking. They actually care about border security? Really? They don't care. They wanted more resources to push these people to citizenship. That's all it was. He said, "Oh man, they're not trying to flood America with criminals." Really? Really? But the thing is that no one believes you. Democrats have a credibility problem. Legacy media has a credibility problem. We all watched what happened under Biden with the borders wide open. We all watched it. Drug trafficking, human trafficking, violent criminals pouring in, cities like New York and Chicago collapsing under the weight of illegal immigration. And now these same Democrats are pretending that, they were trying to stop it the whole time. Let's be honest, man. Trump showed us you don't need more money to secure the border. You need willpower. You need to be willing to use the resources afforded to you to shut it down. And Democrats, they never had it. And the reason why they didn't have it is because shutting down the border would not benefit them. They wanted to usher in a new voter class, a new voter bloc. That's what this was about. These people on purpose chose to open the floodgates. And now they're shocked that the American people are angry about it. The same people who keep saying that, hey, people need to make more money, this, that, and the third, you actually bring a bunch of people over here to help lower the wages. Do you guys recall a time where you could get a $500 sign-on bonus to go work at McDonald's? Every company out there was paying sign-on bonuses because there wasn't enough people for the jobs. Do y'all guys remember that? People were getting sign-in bonuses to go work at McDonald's and other places. McDonald's sticks out to me because I remember seeing those signs, $500 up to $1,000, sign-on bonus to go be a member of McDonald's. They let all these people come in, gave a lot of these people temporary status and a work visa and the ability to work, and they lowered wages. Even on the construction side, a lot of Americans that own construction businesses could not make money anymore because they allowed these people to come over, and these folks was willing to do the jobs for pennies on the dollar. That really happened. Oh yeah, D. Maybe it wasn't out there where you at, but out here, there were signs out there, $500 sign-on bonuses to join Mickey D's and other places. It wasn't just McDonald's. Another thing, that happened during this interview, excuse me, during this interview, there was a moment, and it was a good one for sure. It was a question on tariffs. With Tim Waltz, calling them, really, really terrifying. He's really, fear-mongering the people about these tariffs. And then Tepper pulls out the United Auto Workers statement on how they feel about the tariffs. And, hey, you know what? I'm going to let you guys see it for yourself. Let's go.
Argues that these tariffs are needed to bring American manufacturing back and to help American workers left behind in places like Minnesota. He has support from the UAW. The UAW called his auto tariffs, quote, a long overdue shift away from a harmful economic framework that has devastated the working class. It signals a return to policies that prioritize the workers who build this country rather than the greed of ruthless corporations, unquote.
Hey, this is good, man. Tim Walz, he looked like he was about to cry. He looked like he was about to cry. You know? And now the usual suspects, they're all flipping out over these tariffs. They're all flipping out. They're flipping out over Trump's new tariff policy. I mean, they're crying inflation. Nobody was talking about inflation when these people printed so much money that we had 29% inflation in this country. They talked about economic collapse. Nobody talked about economic collapse when you allow 21 million people to overrun the cities and overrun public services. And the crazy thing is, guess what, man? Even Biden's own Treasury Secretary said last year that tariffs wouldn't raise prices. Now they're saying the opposite. And the only reason why they're saying that is because Trump's doing it. But a majority of Americans seem to be okay with it. A couple of countries have already started to reach out to Trump to negotiate a zero tariff deal. Argentina, Vietnam, Taiwan. That's just leverage. Hey, you don't charge us anything, we won't charge you anything, and let's open up free trade and we can do business together. The other thing, people were talking about, they didn't put any sanctions on Russia. Or I'm sorry, they didn't put any tariffs on Russia. But Russia has been sanctioned for quite some time. We don't do business with them. We don't do business with them at all. So the fact that Vietnam, Taiwan, and other nations have already reached out, it's proof that the strategy is already working. Trump doesn't need to finalize deals yet, not just yet. Just the threat of tariffs is bringing countries to the table. Just the threat of it. And the reality is this, guys. We have to do something different. We cannot keep operating the way that we've been operating. We just can't. That's like being in debt and continuing to spend more money on your credit card or opening up another credit card and maxing that one out. At some point, you're going to have to pay the piper. At some point. At some point, you're going to have to.
Report from the USTR last night that more than 50 countries have reached out to the president to begin a negotiation. But they're doing that because they understand that they bear a lot of the tariff. And so I don't think that you're going to see a big effect on the consumer in the U.S. because I do think that the reason why we have a persistent long-run trade deficit is these people have very inelastic supply. They've been dumping goods into the country in order to create jobs, say, in China.
Hey, Dion, you got your answer now. The reason why there was no tariffs put on Russia is because we don't do business with them. They've been put under sanctions. There is no trade between the United States of America and Russia. Now, Europe still does business with them because they need their natural gas. But we don't have a stake in that at all. And we don't do business with Russia. So there's no point on putting a tariff on a country that we don't do business with. You can't buy the Russian nothing in America. Nothing. Now, billboards, I heard about that as well. When I went to do some research, I also heard that there's some countries that have been able to use that particular country as a place where, I guess goods are coming out of to keep from paying whatever tariffs or something along those lines. That's what I heard. I have to do some additional digging on that. But there you have it right there, man. You've had over 50 countries reach out looking to do a deal. You've had over 50 nations reach out looking to do a deal. The thing is that this is the largest, most robust economy in the world. Everybody gets money here. Everybody gets money here. We've had a negative trade deficit in this nation for years, decades. So The crazy thing is, man, obviously you won't hear a whole lot of this, in mainstream outlets. Instead they'll keep, pumping the public with the same tired lines. Trump's an authoritarian. He's going to destroy the economy. He's crashing, your grandma's retirement. But we all know the truth. That right there, it isn't journalism. It's emotional blackmail. And it's why more Americans are tuning these people out. Democrats spent 2 years telling us that the economy was fine, inflation was transitory, and things were getting better. Meanwhile, eggs were upwards of $6, and in some cases, they were up to $8 and $9 a carton, and rent was unaffordable. When they said Bidenomics is working, what they meant is it was working for the multimillionaires and the billionaires in this country who have a lot of their money in the stock market. I'd heard a study, that the top 1% has 88% of their money in the stock market, and everybody else has 12%. So with the market going down like that, is it really affecting regular working class Americans? No. Those that did have money in the market, they've taken that money out 2-3 years ago just to pay bills because stuff is so expensive. Now, people will say, well, you got some middle class folks that got their 401ks tied to it. Yeah, that is true. But if you're not in the plans, if you're not looking to retire this year, you don't have the ability to pull that money out anyway. It's just paper. It's just paper right now. It's just something that's on paper. You can look at it, see it up or down. It don't really matter that much right now if you don't plan on retiring right now. The people that are upset are the people that got a lot of money, that had their money in the stock market. And the market, honestly, it's been booming. They've done a good job keeping the market propped up. They've done a good job keeping the market propped up. Even when, and I'm sorry for bumping the mic, even when companies were laying off like crazy starting back in 2021, even though inflation rose to 29%, when gas prices, increased, when the price of groceries increased like crazy, it didn't matter. They were still making money hand over fist. The reason why they're upset is that, this market, it's come down. It's come down. And, I'm not going to say that I'm not a little frustrated behind it, but I understood it. I'm not some day trader or something along those lines out there. I'm not out there, speculating stocks. I'm not doing that. I'm a long-term investor, but I'm also looking at this as an opportunity to purchase, good stocks at a discounted rate. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not here to tell you what to buy, but I am telling you that it's something that you should be looking at, because a lot of people are going to kick themselves if they don't get in today, a year from now. And my thing is that, what's up, Dale? And my thing is this. I don't have any interest in betting against President Trump. I just don't. And the other thing is, I don't hear any other solutions coming from our friends over on the left. All right, Regina, take care. I don't see any solutions coming out from over there. Everybody got complaints. Everybody got something to say, about this idea. Nobody has a solution. Have y'all heard a solution that came from a Cory Booker, from an AOC? Have y'all heard of a solution that came from anybody, from these talking heads over there? Do they have a solution? And I misspoke yesterday in reference to the Social Security Ponzi scheme situation. Looking at it, it's Ponzi scheme-esque. Because the reality of it is, if people stop paying into it, it would pretty much go defunct tomorrow. They're literally taking money from us to pay people that are on it right now. But back to my statement, I don't hear any politician from the left that has a better solution. Now, last week we showed clips of Nancy Pelosi talking about these tariffs. We showed clips of Chuck Schumer talking about these tariffs. And these are from, and Bernie Sanders talking about these tariffs. And these are from 10 and 20 and 30 years ago in some cases. Talking about how this needs to be done because we're getting pillaged. So the reason why they're all up in arms is because this situation is, that this situation, it's not working for the billionaire and millionaire class in this country. Which is why I don't notice, which is why I don't know, if you've noticed, but the people who are all up in arms, about this whole, tariff situation, they're all the coastal elites on both sides. They funneled money into fake government jobs, bloated agencies, special interests. They've done all of that while working class people got crushed. Again, most of us, most middle class, working class people don't have a lot of money in the stock market. The number one way that people generate wealth in this nation, it's not through the market. It's actually through their homes. It's through home ownership. And over the past 4 years, the Biden-Harris administration and their policies has actually stifled people's opportunity or ability to purchase a home, which is the number one way that people generate wealth in this nation. Working class people have been getting crushed. And if they did have money in a 401k, they've cashed it out. If they did have money in the stock market, they've taken that bread out already because they needed to use it for bills, rent, so forth and so on. And now you got these coastal elites crying about the stock market dipping because Trump is finally doing what needs to be done. And he's fixing the mess from the bottom up. And if Democrats really cared about the poor, they'd celebrate falling gas prices. They would celebrate the falling mortgage rates. They would celebrate it. They'd be happy that Americans are finally getting a little bit of relief. But instead, they're upset that their donors on Wall Street are taking a hit. So who are they really fighting for? Who are they really working for? Because the working man, the guy with no investments, just trying to put food on the table, he didn't benefit under Biden. He lost. He fell behind. And now that Trump's putting America first again, the left is panicking. Americans are waking up. They're realizing that the real threat isn't a billionaire flying rockets to Mars. Excuse me. That's not the real threat. The real threat is the gaslighting politicians. It's those people. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that Trump is perfect. I'm not, because I don't believe anybody is perfect. There's been one perfect individual to walk this planet, and it ain't President Trump. But he's also not pretending to be. He's not playing identity politics. He actually has a plan. He ran on this plan. And he's actually following through with the plan. He's actually trying to make life better for working people. And meanwhile, Democrats are too busy marching in the streets with confused protesters yelling at clouds, blaming Elon Musk for TSA pat downs and Lord knows what else. Getting their talking points from TikTok influencers. But while they're busy doing that, the administration is busy trying to secure real wins for the American people. And what they're saying is that the tariffs, they're saying that they're here to stay. Howard Lutnick, Trump's Commerce Secretary, he just gave one of the most revealing interviews that I've seen in quite some time. And not because of what he said, but because of how the media reacted to him. He joined Margaret Brennan's show Face the Nation last night, to talk about, or yesterday more or less, to talk about, tariffs, manufacturing, America's future. But instead, he was met with he was met with a lot of pushback, a lot of eye rolls. He was met with, interruptions, that made it crystal clear that the liberal media isn't interested in solutions. But he handled it masterfully. He handled it quite well, in my opinion. We're going to get into it. Make sure y'all hit that like button if y'all haven't done so already.
We see about 60% of Americans have money in the stock market, which mean that retirees could be just as concerned as hedge fund managers this morning. Did you expect this level of shock in the financial markets?
Well, you've got to realize this is a national security issue. I mean, we don't make medicine in this country anymore. We don't make ships. We don't have enough steel and aluminum to fight a battle, right? All our semiconductors are made overseas, so every button we press when we try to start our car or even use our microwave, these are all semiconductors. They're all made elsewhere. We've got to start to protect ourselves, and we've got to stop having all the countries of the world ripping us off. We have a $1.2 trillion trade deficit, and the rest of the world has a surplus with us. They're earning our money, they're taking our money, and Donald Trump has seen this, and he's going to stop it. So it is going to be a big change. Of course it's going to be a big change, but the rest of the world has been ripping us off for all these many years. Donald Trump has seen it, he's spoken about it,
I understand
and he's just
that.
not going to take it anymore, and that's his model.
And that was abundantly clear during the presidential campaign how much the president truly believes in tariffs and putting him at the center of his economic policy. But you saw absolute panic in the global markets. Did you expect that, or were you surprised?
No, I think the point is you need to reset the power of the United States of America and reset it against all our allies and our enemies alike. The idea that all the countries of the world can run trade surpluses with America and buy our things with us. Remember, $1.2 trillion. In 1980, we were a net investor, meaning we owned more of the rest of the world than they owned of us.
Yeah, it's a different world. It's a different market.
And now they own $18 trillion of us net. So that means the rest of the world, every year when we run a $1.2 trillion deficit, the rest of the world buys $1.2 trillion of America, and it goes up and up and up. And eventually we're not going to own America, and we are going to be owned by the rest of the world. Imagine if we had a war and we can't build a ship, we can't fly a plane, we can't build our own planes, we don't have our own semiconductors. This is what the president is here to fix for America. It's in his hands, and he wants to fix America. This is his chance to fix America, and we need him to fix it for our children and our grandchildren.
Okay, but for businesses to do what you're doing, because what I hear you laying out there is a plan to reindustrialize the United States and to bring companies back to America. For a CEO to choose to invest.
Well said.
But for a CEO to make those decisions, you know this, they need certainty. They need to know if it costs them more to stay overseas or if it costs them more to move here. So can you give them clarity so that they don't just cut jobs because they're dealing with the cost of these tariffs? Can you tell them how long they're staying in place?
Absolutely. The United States of America is going to protect the people who invest in America. Trillions and trillions of dollars, you heard the president speak about it, are coming to invest in America. This is the economy of the world. We are the consumer of the world, and companies need to build it here, and we will protect them for building it here.
Okay,
we will help the American workers. Yes, American workers are more expensive, but they're better. We're going to protect all the factories that come to America, and that's what's coming here. So the president
is the 10% tariff
He's going to protect them.
You know what's crazy? You know what's crazy? Why do they expect the president to give away his negotiation tactics on a platform, on a national platform? I just don't understand that. I don't understand that. So the Commerce Secretary, he started with facts and, with the fact that, many Americans are, willing to make this trade-off if it means more jobs and less reliance on foreign powers. But that's not what Margaret wanted to talk about. She wanted to talk about how Wall Street was in shock. See, these people care more about these folks up in New York City than they care about the Americans in middle America. She was more upset about the temporary dip in her 401k than she was about the fact that the U.S. no longer manufactures its own medicine or its semiconductors. And he pushed back, and rightfully so. The vision is to reindustrialize America. That's the vision. Build our own ships, our own tech, with our own steel. The reality of it is that if we ever found ourselves in another major conflict, world conflict, we could find ourselves in trouble because we don't build anything here. It's a national security crisis that we don't build our own ships. Are you freaking kidding me? We got to stop hemorrhaging wealth to countries that laugh behind our backs while cashing our checks. They know they're getting over on us. This isn't just about money. Like I said earlier, man, it's a national security issue. And then, you know, came the kicker when Brennan asked for clarity for CEOs, you know, about how long the tariffs would stay in place. Secretary Lutnick, he said exactly what needed to be said. You don't give away your leverage in a negotiation. Where do they do that at? Seriously, where do they do that at? These people are ridiculous. It really makes you wonder, whose side are they on? Seriously.
Well, remember, this is a national security issue.
I got it. Is the 10% tariff
our budget
permanent?
deficit? That, you know, the laws of America are the laws of America. He would like it to be that we need to protect the companies that invest here, and we are going to protect the companies that invest here. That is the policy of the United States of America. That's why trillions of dollars are coming here. The ripoff of the United States of America is over. All these companies are going to come and invest here. That's what they're doing. That's why they've committed trillions of dollars. They know this is the economy.
Mr. Secretary,
this is the place to go.
Mr. Secretary, the campaign's over. You won. So
he just told you the plan. He just told you the plan. Now, she didn't like the plan. That's pretty obvious. She didn't like it. You know, and at one point, you know, she tries mocking the administration's tariff chart, you know, asking why, you know, there's some inhabited island that just has penguins, you know, had a 10% tariff slapped on it. But he had a sharp response for that as well.
because when we saw the president stand in the Rose Garden holding up that chart that you helped make, that wasn't actually tariffs. That was actually confusing to investors because it was some kind of other formula, and the countries themselves seemed kind of random. Like, why are the Heard and McDonald Islands, which don't export to the United States and are quite literally inhabited by penguins, why do they face a 10% tariffs? Did you use AI to generate this?
No. The idea is
why
that there
are they on the list?
Left off. Because the idea, what happens is, if you leave anything off the list, the countries that try to basically arbitrage America go through those countries to us. Any country, like we had tariffs, the president put tariffs on China, right, in 2018. And then what China started doing is they started going through other countries to America.
Right.
They just built through other countries through America. And so the president knows that. He's tired of it. And he's going to fix that. So basically, he said, look, I can't let any part of the world be a place where China or other countries can ship through them. So he ended those loopholes, these ridiculous loopholes. And now what he's trying to say is, I'm going to fix the trade deficit of the United States of America. It's a national security issue. We need to make medicine. We need to make semiconductors. We need to make ships. We need to have steel and aluminum. Come on. We need the greatness of America to actually be built in America. And he's tired of getting ripped off by the rest of the world.
Okay, but just...
Yeah. She only cares about the investors. She only cares about Wall Street. She only cares about those those elites. And the thing is that she's not listening. She's not listening. She's not. She's just not. But his answer, it made a lot of sense, right? His answer, it made complete sense. There are many loopholes that countries like China, and other nations like to use to reroute goods through third parties, which have been wide open for decades. And all Trump's team is doing is, hey, they're trying to close all the loopholes, all of them, no exceptions. But what was most revealing, though, was that Brennan's tone, her tone. She wasn't interviewing, she was attacking. Her voice, her posture, her outrage. It wasn't about policy, it was about panic. The elites are watching their world shift. Wall Street's losing its grip. Working class Americans are gaining a voice again. And that terrifies the heck out of them. You see, tariffs, they're not just taxes, they're leverage. And when Trump slaps a tariff on everyone, it's not to punish. It's to bring people to the table to sit down and have a conversation. That's how you start. That's how you start high so we can negotiate down and come to some form of compromise that makes sense for everybody. That's how deals get made. Any of you guys that have worked in sales or anything along those lines, any of you guys that have negotiated a salary, we start at the number that has been presented. You want to make, if you want to make $80,000 a year, you probably shouldn't go in there asking for 80. Because once you tell them that, we're negotiating down from that point. So if you want 80, you probably need to ask for 100 and let it be known that I'm flexible within reason. And now we got something to talk about and we can work our way down. You might actually get a little more than what you actually wanted. It just makes complete sense. That's how you get deals done. But a lot of these people, man, they don't understand negotiating. They don't understand that. And to be honest with you, a lot of Americans in general don't understand negotiations. They don't like to barter. Every other nation, they barter like crazy. Every other nation barters like crazy. But this is a negotiation ploy. You got to get people to the table and let's have some real conversations. And that's how Trump, got Mexico, got Canada, and others to make better deals during his first term. This isn't new. This isn't new. What's new is the media's unhinged reaction. The truth is this, man. The media's not afraid of tariffs. They're afraid that Trump's strategy might actually work. They're afraid that his strategy might actually work. They're afraid of Americans realizing, higher wages, cheaper gas, more local manufacturing. They're afraid of that. And let's be clear, man, Wall Street's temporary loss is Main Street's long-term gain. Lower interest rates means cheaper mortgages, lower car payments, more small business loans. That's real relief for real people. And that's what Trump's team is aiming for. And Howard made it clear. This isn't about, short-term market tantrums. It's not. It's about rebuilding the foundation of the American economy. And he's absolutely right, man. We've let foreign countries write the rules for entirely too long. We've allowed some of these politicians to write rules that sold us out. We've let them tell us what we can sell, what we can make, what standards we have to meet, while they protect their own markets. And this administration is basically saying enough is enough, man. Enough's enough. So yes, the tariffs are coming. And yes, it's going to shake up the status quo. But honestly, that's the point. That's the point. And if the media can't handle it, hey, man, tough on them, man. But like we've seen in the polls, from the, unhinged reactions over on the left, it looks like most Americans actually support They support this initiative. And it's still the same usual suspects that are crying wolf. This is one of the first times that I can think of that a president actually campaigned on things. And he's actually following through with what he promised. Now, again, there are some people out there that are saying that, hey, it may not work. There are some people out here that says that, hey, we need to do this and we need to take control, of the markets and get a full and make sure that things are fair in reference to doing business with other nations. But what bothers me is that we have President Trump and this administration at least trying something. They at least said, hey, this is the problem. This is a solution that we have, and we plan on implementing it and trying it. What you get from folks on the left, they have complaints, but no solutions. They have complaints, but no solutions. Think about it. I have not heard one politician, that especially one that's higher up in the ranks, that actually says, you know what, Trump's plan, his initiative, it's not going to work. Here's why, and this is what I think we should do. I haven't heard anybody say that. Most of the time when people disagree with something, they tell you why, and then they tell you, this is what I would do. We don't get a why this won't work from the other side, and we also don't get a solution of what they would do better. I'm waiting to hear another idea. And Timothy, you're absolutely right. The market has been propped up like crazy. I want to open it up. I wasn't going to do it today, but I'm going to open it up today. I want to get some guys to call in and talk about this. I want to hear your thoughts, on this. Give me a second. I'm going to pin this up here in the comment section. If anybody has questions or anything that they want to add, I want to give you an opportunity to do so. But Tim, you're absolutely right. The market has been propped up, and all the people that got money to put in the market like that, they've been making money hand over fist. We were due for a market correction. Now, market corrections happen on average, every 18 to 24 months or so. There is a market correction of some sort. That is always the case. I'm gonna put this in the chat here. Anybody that like to call in, I'd love to hear, if you guys have anything to add, anything that you'd want to say, you got a question that you'd like to ask me. I may not have the answer. If I don't have the answer, I'm not one that's going to BS you. I'm going to tell you, I don't know the answer. But pull up, if anybody is interested, we'll leave it open here for about 5 minutes or so to see if we get anybody to pull up. If not, that's all I got for you today. But I don't hear solutions coming from the other side. And that's honestly, that's what concerns me. That's another thing that concerns me, is that you have a lot of people that are upset with the initiative. They're upset with Trump's solution, but they don't have a solution. They don't have a solution of their own. I would be 100% okay if, a Cory Booker or a Schumer or an AOC or any of these people came out and said, hey, this isn't a good idea. This is why I don't think it's a good idea. But this is what we should be doing. This is what we should be doing. This is the plan, and this is the direction that we should be going. I'd be okay with that. They have no solutions. And LJ, you're right. She says they have zero solutions. They just have talking points. You're right. They have zero solutions. I have yet to hear anybody say this isn't a good plan, although it was their idea. 10, 15, 30 years ago in some cases. This was their idea. But I don't hear any of these people coming to the table with a solution. Hey, Trump's crazy. These tariffs, it's crazy. I don't think we should do this. This is what we should do. Oh, here we go. All right, let me bring in, uh-oh. We'll get them to the stream. Ed, you got to connect your microphone of some sort. But we're going through a market reset right now. The market is being reset. I mean, the reality of it is that, think about it. I mean, we've been in a recession dating back to 2021. We had three quarters of negative GDP growth. We had 3 quarters back to back to back. How in the world did the market stay up and continue to rise when we had 3 quarters of negative GDP growth? How did that happen? I'm still waiting. But you got all these people coming out the woodwork, you know, that's shooting down an idea. People are upset that they're rooting out the waste and the fraud when it comes to Medicare, when it comes to Social Security. Nobody actually has a solution. But everybody knows that if we keep going at the rate that we're going, Social Security is going to be defunct by 2035. That's 10 years from now. If we don't do anything, if we just sit on our hands and do nothing, it's going to be basically bankrupt by 2035. They said Medicare, if we do nothing, bankrupt by 2034. Now they allow 21 million people to come over here. They gave them Social Security numbers, put a lot of these people on Social Security benefits. You put a lot of these people on Social Security benefits. A lot of these people, you know, getting what do you call that? Free health care and things of that nature. Yeah, EDH, your microphone. Yeah, for whatever reason, they're saying that your mic's not connected. Oh, okay. Yeah, when you first pull up, if you do pull up and you have mic issues, go into settings and you'll be able to check, and that way you'll be able to pick which mic is already attached to your computer. So you'll be able to pick it. It will give you an option to pick. So you might want to go in there and double check it. All right. Well, you know, I guess we had a couple people, but they're having some technical difficulties here. But as always, man, I appreciate you guys pulling up. We'll try to open it up. You know, I like having a call in, so allowing people to call in. So that may be something that we'll do periodically. Here we go. All right, I think we got EDH here. What's going on, EDH? How you doing, man? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. All right. For the people that don't know you, let us know where you're tuning in from.
Las Vegas, Nevada.
Las Vegas, Nevada. Appreciate you, man. So thank you, one, for supporting the channel and supporting me and pulling up this morning. What do you have for us?
Well, I really don't have anything for you. I was wondering what you have to say. I was just trying to get the chat going to see if somebody else would chime in, but it seemed kind of dull, so I just decided to jump in here and see if we could get something going.
Got you. Well, I appreciate that, man. What are your thoughts on the tariffs? I mean, you think it's a good thing, it's a bad thing, or are you just kind of sitting back trying to wait to see what happens?
You know, okay, so I know the history on this. Okay, so back before the Great Depression, we didn't have income tax. They imposed income tax on us in 1913, and then we had the Great Depression. That's 16 years later. Awesome. Yeah. So that's the whole problem. So Trump is bringing back the tariffs that we used to use before we had income tax, before we were subsidizing all of these other countries, and now they're protesting in the streets. It's like they've been talking about doing this shit for 30, excuse my language, sorry. They've been talking about doing this for 30 years. Now Trump is finally doing it, and they're protesting in the streets. That's the thing that's got me the most angry about all of this. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's only two ways that this country generates revenue. It's either through taxing you and I, or finding another revenue stream through tariffs for countries that want to do business in our nation. That's it. And I like the idea of President Trump trying to do something different and trying to bring relief to those of us that are being taxed into oblivion. That every time we need money, it can't just be, let's tax the citizens more. Let's take more money out of their mouths. That just can't continue to be the solution, in my opinion.
Right. I mean, exactly. But that's the system that we're in right now. And that's what they're used to. It's been going on for decades. So the thing that irks me the most, though, is that all of the senators and the what do you call those? The other ones, the House of Representatives.
Oh, the reps. Yeah, the representatives.
People, yeah. They're all millionaires. How is that possible?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great question.
How do you get that money? Nah, there's no way. There's no way.
They're not.
Yeah,
you're
they're
right.
not
You're right.
investing that money. They're getting kickbacks somehow, some way. They're getting bribed. Everybody knows it. It's only a matter of time until we find everything out, in my opinion. Yeah.
I would agree.
All right, man. Well,
I appreciate you pulling up,
there
EDH,
another
as
caller?
always.
Come on.
No, I don't have anybody else, but I appreciate you, pulling it up and chopping it up for a little bit. Thank you very much.
All right. Well.
All right, man. Take care.
You bring a lot to the table, man. Thank you.
Man, I appreciate it, man. Thank you. Take care.
Later. Yep. You too. Bye.
All right. Shout out to EDH, man, for pulling up today. Shout out, man. You did a good job this time. You did a good job. But I appreciate you guys, man. Brett Montgomery says, I could talk about market stuff, but I can only do it off a cell phone, not on the computer. Got you. Okay. Well, I mean, if you have your cell phone, you can hit the link, and still pull up, and it could be just like, a phone. Just hit the link. Just don't turn your cam on, and you can talk through it the exact same way. But as long as you have data, or if you're on Wi-Fi or something along those lines, you can jump on through your phone. That I know for sure. But I appreciate you guys pulling up this morning, man. I hope you guys had a great start to the day. Obviously, this is Monday, man. These weeks be flying by, but hopefully you guys have a great week ahead. We'll be back here tomorrow, Lord willing, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. Appreciate the support. Appreciate those that supported the channel financially today. Shout out to all the Blues, B, Renee Suzanne, T.A. Caskey pulling up for a little bit. Who else? Regina from West Virginia Wire. Shout out to the Blues. Appreciate you all, man. Keep God first, man. Stay prayed up. We'll catch up with you all next time. Peace.
Vibes so